Welcome to the Essential Self-Care Podcast, a show for those of us who are, let's face it, too busy for self-care. Each week, we bring you real-life stories and expert insights to help you create a kinder, more compassionate relationship with yourself. I'm your host, Dr. Sheetal Ajmani, a physician with over 2 decades of experience blending Eastern and Western well-being practices. As the founder of Radiant Living Institute, I'm here to help you reconnect with your own inner radiance. Remember, small changes make a large impact, and it all starts here. Please note, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult your own healthcare provider about your specific situation. Now, let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Essential Self-Care Podcast. I am excited to introduce our guest today, Dr. Nneka Unachukwu, also known as Dr. Una. She is a physician entrepreneur and the founder of EntreMD, where she helps doctors build profitable businesses so they can live life and practice medicine on their terms. She does this through her book, podcast, and business school. Today, Dr. Una is going to share a bit of her personal self-care journey with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Ajmani. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really excited about it too. You know, we were chatting for our listeners. Dr. Una and I were chatting before we started the recording and just kind of recapping that I have known of Dr. Una, like we have known of each other for many years, but this is honestly the first time that we have actually had the opportunity to connect in this way. I have met many of our physician colleagues over the years who have gone through some of your programs. And I was telling Dr. Una just before we started the recording, they all have had this beautiful energy that you can see with Dr. Una even through whether you're tuning into the audio or you're watching on YouTube. I'm sure you can just kind of see this beautiful energy that she carries. And that's contagious. Like I've seen that energy also translate into some of our physician colleagues who have worked with you, who have attended some of your programs through your business school, and they've all had just such wonderful things to share. Another similarity in our background is that we are both trained in pediatrics, so working with the little ones and their families. I just wanted to share all of that for our listeners, but what we're really going to dive into today is more of your self-care journey, or a piece of your self-care journey. So can you tell us, Dr. Una, about a time in your life where self-care became no longer an option, but an absolute priority for you? And more specifically and importantly, can you share a little bit about what that journey looked like for you?
Yeah, so I think I've always thought it's a little odd, so I'd love to hear what you think about this. But the first time it dawned on me, like your self-care is a non-negotiable, is not optional, was actually after EntreMD made the Inc. 5000 list of privately held fastest growing companies in the US. And I remember us celebrating that. And I had this thought, like, what if, because first of all, I'm a pediatrician, I'm female, I'm minority female, if you will, African American female. Like, this is not supposed to be a thing, right? Like, it's not a common thing. But I became acutely aware that it's possible that I've hit this milestone. I mean, I had some effort in it, but I thought about the contribution of my parents. I thought about the contribution of my husband. I thought about the contribution of, all these people who've supported me. And I said, what if I've come this far because of all the help I got? And what I do with this is now my gift back to them, or my gift back to the world. You know what I mean? Like, what if all of this was a gift to you? Then you decide, I want to stop here, or I want to go further. I want to shatter more glass ceilings so I can be a gift to my world even more. And then it brought up this thought: one of your most important jobs is to be a good steward of you, so you can continue to be a gift to the world. Because if you abuse this body, you abuse this life, you have to leave, you have to cut this short, or you don't have the strength to do what you need to do. And all the good you are supposed to bring into the world, you can't do. The thousands of lives, hundreds of thousands of lives you are supposed to touch, you cannot, because you just couldn't take care of yourself. Is that odd? But that was my big aha. So this happened about 3 years ago or so. And it just became obvious that this is not optional. It's your responsibility.
This is really powerful, and it's an insight that I don't think has been shared on this show in this way yet, and we're close to our 100th episode. First of all, I just want to say congratulations because that is such a wonderful achievement. The work that you have done in building EntreMD with the support of your community, as you mentioned, your parents, your husband, everyone who helped contribute to making that happen. But really, I want to take a moment to congratulate you and really acknowledge and emphasize that achievement.
Thank you.
And, I find it so beautiful what you share about how reaching that milestone achievement brought you to reflect on one, all the people and your village and your community that helped contribute to make that happen, because none of us are living in a silo. And it's so important, I think, to acknowledge the role and the contribution that our community, our, I keep saying village because that's really what it is. We've really gone away from emphasizing and focusing on the importance of our village, but as human beings, going back as far as you can go back in history, we need each other. We rely on each other. And our society has gotten into a very individualistic culture. However, the fact and the truth still remains that we need each other, and none of us are living in a silo. And so I find it so beautiful that you really saw this achievement as an opportunity to reflect upon the contributions of your village and your tribe who helped support that achievement. And then you took that even a step further to, this is a gift that I have received through all of them. And now it's an opportunity for me, and granted, you've already offered so much to the community. As I mentioned, I have met so many physician colleagues even before you and me personally meeting. I've met so many physician colleagues who have worked with you and have come away from that work feeling very reinvigorated in many ways in their life, in their business. And so you've already been giving this gift to the world, but you really came away with this of thinking of even more of, now what can I do with this? How can I continue to offer this gift? And in order to do so, taking care of myself, my highest self, is a non-negotiable. And so from there, what did that look like from there? What sort of changes did you see, or did that insight and reflection lead you to make in your life?
Yeah, so it brought me to a number of habits. Some of them I had already been engaging in, some of them I hadn't. I'll tell you to tell you which was which. But for all of them, it just made me up level how I was doing them, right? Because sometimes it's not about finding new things. We kind of sort of know what to do, but we're either not doing them or not doing them at the highest level. I think for me, the very first one, which is the foundation of everything, is my habit of prayer and meditation, which is something I do, every morning. And for me, it's super important because it's a place where I pull a lot of inspiration from. It's a place where I can get rid of worry and anxiety. It's a place where no matter how big the project is, I could come dump it there and say, God, you got mail. Okay. Because this is too much for me to handle. And it's something that is it's so it at my core it makes me very stable, where it doesn't matter, like if I when I think about it. I think it was 3 years after we started the EntreMD Business School. Someone's like, "When did you start it?" I said 2020, and the person was like, you mean during the pandemic?" It was the first time it occurred to me that I started the pandemic. I was like, "What was I thinking?" Right? But I have all these habits that allow me navigate trials and challenging times and stuff. So that's a non-negotiable for me, right? So prayer, meditating on the scriptures, it has the nicest things to say about me. So I just think on those things. So that's the first one. The second one is taking long walks. And it's not for exercise. Like exercise is almost like the side benefit. For me, it gives me the opportunity to visualize where I'm going. It gives me the opportunity to process my thoughts. It gives me the opportunity to be by myself. I'm an introvert, like I'm an introvert of introverts. So it gives me the opportunity to recharge, right? Because I recharge in solitude. That's what introverts do. And the truth is, I didn't even realize how powerful this habit was until I turned 40. I was like, oh, I should be lifting weights and stuff. And I started going to the gym. And I started going to the gym at the time I took walks because in my mind, I'm thinking exercise for exercise. And I started getting frantic. I started getting agitated. I started getting this energy of, oh, we need to do it now. And I was like, what is, like, whatever this is, I don't like it. What is it?
Mhm.
It took me months to figure out you don't walk for exercise, you walk for your mental health. And you swap that out with lifting weights. And so
Mhm.
now your mental health is suffering. So I stopped that. I was like, we
Mhm.
need to find another time for that. I stopped that and went back to taking my walks. And in a week, I was back to me. Right. And
Mhm.
so taking those walks, which brings me to the thing of really look at what works for you so you can do more of what works for you. So long walks, that works. That works excellently for me. Lifting weights is not something I can say I terribly enjoy. In fact, I'm so sore right now because I had a monster workout yesterday. But the thing is, if I'm going to be, I can take care of my body in such a way that I'll be strong till I'm 50. Or I can take care of my body in such a way I'll be strong till I'm 70. Or I can take care of my body in such a way I'll be strong till I'm 100. And at any place my strength lets out, I have to stop giving the gift. And so I lift weights, even though I don't enjoy it. I shoot for 4 times a week. And I'm at this stage of making it a non-negotiable. Sometimes I negotiate with myself, but now I'm building something that just makes it unshakable. I will not do that, right? And
Mhm.
so and one that I don't know, I would never have thought this was self-care, but one of the things I do now is I'm constantly saying no to things that feel out of alignment with where I'm trying to go because they're stressful.
Mhm.
So, for instance, EntreMD, I'm born to do what I'm doing. I have never worked in EntreMD. Okay. So I'm recording tons of podcast episodes. I'm doing what I'm doing with the doctors in the business school. I'm showing up on social media. I have never worked in EntreMD because it's in alignment with who I am, where I'm going, what I'm called to do. So it doesn't feel like work. I work hard, but it doesn't feel like work. But then there are also things you're like, I don't want to do that. There's no fun in that. It doesn't feel like it's what I should be doing. I just say no. Like
Mhm.
and I'm a recovered people pleaser. And so
Mhm.
saying no was not something that I did a lot of, but the more I say it, the happier I am. The more I say it, the more peaceful I feel. The more I say it like to the wrong things, right? So I'm okay saying no, whether it's to relationships or it's to events I don't want to go to, or I'm just like, yeah, no, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. And I consider that a huge part of self-care because
Mhm.
saying yes to things you know you don't want to say yes to and you probably shouldn't say yes to is just painful. It makes existence painful. And
Mhm.
so that's another thing that I've really embraced is the no. And that doesn't mean I'm, like nasty and mean or anything like that, but I just try to, you only have so many years and so much time and so much energy. So I just want to use it for what I need to be using it for. And that's been huge, 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 huge for me. The last thing I'll talk about is reading. Again,
Mhm.
doesn't seem like self-care, but I think being an entrepreneur or being a visionary or being a high performer is something that is very challenging. And there's no way to make it not challenging. It is challenging. And the more I pour into myself information on people who face the challenges and won, the more I learn from them, the strategies they use and they won and stuff like that, the happier I am. Like last week, I spent 4 hours reading a book. I cannot tell you how happy I was after that. I was so excited. I was like, yes. And it's not because I'm, no, let me run off and go do all these things. It just reframed the way I thought. It made me see myself in a different light. It gave me all this. So it was just fun. So a lot of these are like non-traditional, if you will,
Mhm.
but they help me stay in a place of joy and peace
Mhm.
and, loving my life while being a high performer. And it puts me in a position where, you know, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, I should still be going strong.
Thank you much. Before we go on, I'm excited to share something that could really make a positive impact on your life. Do you feel like you've lost touch with your true self? Reclaim Your Radiance is Radiant Living Institute's signature coaching program designed to help you reclaim your worth, renew your energy, and restore your happiness in your life, career, and relationships. This 6-module program has already helped countless women regain control of their lives. Whether by setting boundaries in challenging relationships, finding strength through life transitions like divorce, pivoting in their careers, or rediscovering their purpose as they embrace new chapters of their life. Start your journey today and begin living authentically, unapologetically, and radiantly once again. Head over to radiantlivinginstitute.com/reclaim-your-radiance to get started. I hope you found that helpful, and if you're ready to explore this more, check out the link in the show notes. Now, let's jump back into today's episode. I have so many reflections on what you shared, and I'm going to start with the first one, which you mentioned a couple times. Maybe these aren't necessarily typical things that someone may think of as self-care or traditionally thought of as self-care, but honestly, that's the premise of this show. So I really appreciate you sharing all of that, which is essential self-care, and which is really breaking down the myths of what self-care is and can look like, and what are really those essential pieces that bring you to, I'm going to use some of the words that you shared, that bring you to that place of feeling true happiness, true joy, feeling peace, feeling contentment, feeling that you love your life, and doing it in a way that feels sustainable. As you mentioned, I want to be doing this when I'm 50, 70, 100, right? So sustainable as well. And that is what essential self-care is about. And, I often talk about sort of I call it like the unsexy parts of self-care, right? What I mean by that is like the sexy parts of self-care is like, the things that we think of going on these inclusive vacations or luxury vacations, or, scheduling regular massages or bubble baths with candles lit and that sort of thing. But saying no, setting boundaries, that goes high on my list of like the unsexy part of self-care, but that is so essential and so vital. And, so I'm going to go through now a few of the different aspects of self-care that have really become part of your, I'll call it like a menu of non-negotiable self-care activities for you. So one, and first, and also additionally, I resonate with so many of them. Actually, every single one of these is also a big part of my own self-care as well. So first, prayer and meditation. I definitely resonate with that. That's a big part of my life as well. Definitely in the mornings. And it's become honestly more of a lifestyle for me, where it's really sprinkled throughout the entire day, but certainly as more of a, what I could call a ritual type of practice in the mornings. And then it's also just sprinkled throughout the day. It's one of those things, no one else even needs to know you're doing it, because it's something that goes on within your own mind, within your own heart. And you can really be, I have found you can really be anywhere and engage in prayer, meditation, or mindfulness. And I just really appreciated what you shared in terms of what those practices do for you, in terms of providing you with inspiration, helping you decrease worry and anxiety, seeking support from something bigger than yourself, from something outside of yourself. And then the long walks. I love long walks. And I love how you emphasized and how a big aha moment for you and realization is that you enjoy long walks, not necessarily because of the exercise or cardio fitness, but because of what it does for your mental, emotional health, for the space it creates for you to be able to visualize, process, and recharge. And it really stuck out to me that you really noticed that difference when you started to swap it out for the weight training, because something that I have found, not only for myself, but also for others who, a few of my other guests who have been on the show or clients I've worked with, is that often when we start building a habit or a practice, it's those moments when we step away from it that you can often realize, like you mentioned, wait a second, I feel more frantic now. Why is that? Right? For me, when I first started a seated meditation practice, and I was only doing it for a few minutes a day as I was trying to build the habit. And since I was still trying to build the habit, this was about 15 years ago now. As I was starting to build that habit, obviously there were days that I missed it, because it hadn't quite become a non-negotiable for me yet. And on those days that I missed it, I noticed that I just didn't feel as centered. My thoughts felt more scattered. My mind was racing more. And so often it is sort of when you take that break that you notice, like, wait a second, that is really making a difference for me. And then I've been taking notes, so I have something to reflect on each thing that you shared. So when you mentioned lifting weights and how that is not quite, you're working towards building it into a non-negotiable. One thing I wanted to reflect on that for our listeners is that sometimes when you make these decisions to create a new habit, to with a goal of making it a non-negotiable for your self-care, in the beginning it may still feel like a negotiable, like you just mentioned, that you negotiate with yourself still quite a bit for that, and that can be part of the process. But I think another statement that you shared that's really powerful is do more of what works for you. Saying no, there's so much. That was the fourth one that you had mentioned. I reflected on that a little bit already. And honestly, I feel like Dr. Una, we could talk about that for days. That is such a big one. And then reading. I love just sitting down with a good book too. And what's interesting, what you shared about that as well, is you shared it a step further in terms of it's not just the reading, it's the type of stories that you're reading and the types of things that you're reading. You're reading stories about other people's journeys that inspire you, that make you happy to read them overcome challenging moments. And it, in a way, the way that you described it, it sounds like that really fuels you as well. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. Another thing that I want to reflect on that you had mentioned is that all of these, or many of these, I know the weightlifting was more of a newer addition, but many of these were habits that you already had, but you found ways to either up level them, as you mentioned, or you discovered interesting perspectives and appreciations of these modalities of self-care for you that maybe you hadn't had before. And something that you had said early on in the conversation was about that idea of that these were habits that you already had. And what that had made me think of is that so often if someone is kind of struggling to find, well, I know I need to do something to care for myself deeper, but I don't know exactly what it is. Often it can be taking a look back and seeing, well, what are things that you used to enjoy before? What are some things that perhaps I'm going to use some of the emotions that you and words that you used of happy, fun, joy, peace, loving my life? Like, what are some of those things that made me feel that way in the past? And what are ways that I can begin to integrate some of that? You know, I recently, actually just yesterday, as of us recording this episode, I just got a gym membership, which I haven't had in quite a few years. But I love going to the gym. I did it all through college, all through medical school, residency. It was my little reprieve, my time for myself. And while I have continued to engage in physical activity over the years, I haven't done it with a gym membership in the past few years. And I was telling someone about this, and they said, wow, that seems like such a kind of getting back to yourself, getting back to Sheathel type of activity. And that's exactly what it is. And that's something that I thought of when you were describing that situation for yourself as well.
Fascinates me how different people can be. And I think that's something, like for every listener, like, do you know what I mean? Like, for instance, I don't want to be in the gym. Like, the pathway for me with lifting weights on a regular basis is I have to figure out how to do it at home. And that's the system that I'm working on now. And so far, so good, right?
Yeah.
Or as some people say, retail therapy. Retail is like a nightmare for me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
please do not take me to a mall. Like, whatever you do, do not take me to a store. Like, leave me alone. My team shops for me. I don't want anything to do with shopping, And so it's very important to, like you were saying, is there's not a one size fits all. You really want to look for what is your thing, right? And there's nothing wrong with the experiment to figure it out,
Absolutely. I mean, I would say you have to experiment to figure it out, and it can also change in different seasons. I was reflecting on that as well, just as I just got this gym membership, and I was like, why didn't I have a gym membership for the past few years? And as I was reflecting on it, I was like, well, that isn't what I needed the past few years. There were other types of self-care that I needed over that time, just based on what I was going through in my life. And now I'm in a season where that feels right for me again. It's so funny what you mentioned about retail. The big joke in my family is Sheethel has a 2-hour limit with going to the store. I can't go out shopping for more than 2 hours. But Dr. Una, this has been so much fun. I really appreciate all the insights that you shared with us, specific tools and strategies that you have found helpful in your own life. If anyone wants to learn more about you and the work that you're doing, where can they find you?
The easiest place would be my website, EntreMD.com. So that's ENTREMD. And, we have a number of resources. Actually, we have resources for every physician. We have a podcast, the EntreMD podcast, written. We have 5 business books at this point. And then we have the EntreMD Business School. But there's a tool that I'm so excited about because I'm like, finally, I have something for everybody. And it is a journal. It is called the 20% Coach Journal. And what it's designed to do is kind of like what I talked about as the last self-care thing of, saying no to things. Is kind of, it gives you an opportunity to plan out your week. Like, these are the most important things for me. This is the mindset drama I know will get in the way. This is how I'm going to handle it. And most importantly, at the end of the week, it lets you look back, right? Like, what did I learn about myself? What worked? What didn't work? What did I procrastinate on? Why did I procrastinate on that? If I started this week over, what would I do differently? And I'm so excited. Like, that's what I use, right? To plan my week and audit my week. So I use it twice a week. But literally, if you follow it every week, you become an upgraded version of yourself. Right. And, the ultimate in self-care, like the point of self-care for me is that at the end of my life, I did what I was supposed to do, right? I maximized my potential and I enjoyed my life and I'm out, right? And so this is a tool that I'm using to help me do that. And I invite as many people as possible to do that as well. So you can find it at entremd.com/journal.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for creating that resource. And I will be sure to include all of those links in the show notes below. I know you have so many choices for how to spend your time, so I thank you for being here today with Essential Self-Care. As a gift, download your free workbook, 6 simple yet powerful steps to create your radiant life at radiantlivinginstitute.com and start your journey to a more radiant you.